right, guys, welcome back to Ponderings from Palm Coast. And I'm Mark Webb, and today I have a phenomenal guest that's come in to share with us some of the things he's been involved with. Perry Mitrano.
Correct.
Thank you for coming, Perry. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I
Pleasure.
know that you have been a huge part of Flagler County and Palm Coast for many years. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how'd you get to Palm Coast?
Well, my wife's parents live here since '93. They wanted to, earlier settlers, I guess you could call them.
Founders, I've heard
founders
the word, yeah.
of the infamous city of Palm Coast, and so we in 2004, a company I was working for decided to sell off my divisions, and I had a contract to stay with them 2 years beyond that, and we decided to just move to Florida. We had a young boy at the time, Joseph, and I wanted to get closer to the grandparents.
And where was that at the time?
This was New York.
Oh, you were up in New York?
Westchester County. I'm
What?
originally, my wife and I are originally from the Bronx,
Oh.
but she moved to Putnam County in New York, and I lived in the Bronx and moved to Westchester. And anyway, we lived in Westchester, and we bought a piece of property, and then we built our home and moved here physically in 2005.
Wow, amazing.
So we're here 21 years.
So you've seen a lot, huh?
Well, I think what I saw was a really nice community that was growing. At the time, we were the fastest growing community in the state. Back then, similar to the situation today, I think. But overall, we had met a lot of really nice people back in that period of time. Melissa Holland, was one of them. When she was running for city council and then mayor, and then I think county commission at the time. So we met her, and through her we met other people, and overall we're here and got embedded in the community. So
That's amazing. So I know that you have always been a really service-driven individual. You've raised your hand numerous times to step up within the community, and I would love to touch on some of the things you've been involved with recently. You were on the Charter Review Board during a really critical time within our charter. So if guys, a lot of people don't even know Palm Coast has a charter. I kind of define it as kind of Palm Coast's rules, regulations, constitution, if you will. And you guys spent a lot of time and effort going through that charter. What was your feeling on that?
well, 6 months we did it, but prior to that, I was also on the redistricting board. I was appointed for that board in 2021, I think, when they did. I can't quite remember the year. And
That's
and that
Palm
was
Coast
Palm Coast.
Redistrict.
Yeah,
Okay.
Palm Coast redistricting.
Redistricting seems to be a different name, but in Palm Coast,
In Palm
that's
Coast,
good.
in the city's redistricting structure. So I was on that board the first time, and then I saw the opportunity for the charter review, and I put my name in again. It was picked again. I'm not a perennial where I just constantly need to be replanted in a position all the time. I am a person that cares about my community. So the charter was such a argument over appointment and how appointments should be done when someone resigns or dies in office. It just was so. It looked to me as though some of this stuff was set up in the charters as time went on with different levels of people in council and mayors and stuff to make it easier for council to operate. We agree, but we also should have fairness in it. And clearly, the last appointment was a mess. We're talking about a very nice man, Gambaro, who was appointed, and he was attacked. I mean, why the guy's appointed? Why you're attacking him is beyond me. How how the appointments got done was prior to the way that the board has to read the charter. So if they interpret it as it was and they make the appointment, but he was a number of people that applied for the position. It wasn't like, hey, everybody get out of the way, let's secretly bring in Mr. Gambaro to be counsel. And the same with Dave Sullivan, who recently was appointed to replace Kathy Hyder. Same thing. They're appointed amongst other people that applied. I applied to be appointed a while ago also for a seat that was vacated in my district a while ago, and I got edged out, on that one as well. The board has autonomy when it comes to picking the people, and it becomes the vote. Now, you get, each one of them get a pick of who you are, which one they would like, and in my case, I got picked for the charter.
Right. And the thing that caught my attention and the hard work that you guys did, that you presented to the city council areas or sections in which, as a group of 5, I believe, felt strongly about making some of those changes. And there were like almost 30 recommendations that you guys felt, which I think was a huge value that hopefully this council and future councils can look at and see the efforts that you guys put in. Because I know that you even talked about the redistricting and looking at the growth of Palm Coast, and that was the committee you were on earlier, as we have this influx of people, and half the people don't even know what district they're in here in Palm Coast, to know the election and who this is and where petitions can be signed and all of that. And I thought you guys did a really phenomenal job of trying to look at everything, not just what turned out to be the 2 or 3 things that the city council was trying to clarify. And there was a restriction of you couldn't put 30 changes on a ballot.
No, there was only so much room
The
on the ballot.
room on the ballot was important.
A couple of things on that board, on the charter review. Number one, there are other people that were alternates, and those people, a lot of them came constantly to the meetings, and we spoke as if we were a board and they were a board. And in addition to that, anybody that came to the meeting, they were part of the board.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we did not sit up there and condescendingly say, we're not listening. We're going to make decisions and you're going to obligated to listen to what we say. We didn't do that one bit. We engaged all the time, constantly. But I'm going to say something that is very unnerving. Okay? I'm a volunteer. I got picked and I got attacked. Yeah, I got attacked viciously by one of the alternates. I got attacked viciously by someone who was totally not in touch with reality at all. And she's constantly getting up to speak at the meetings. Attacked, 116-page document sent to the city of Palm Coast about why I shouldn't be on the charter review. Why would you attack anyone who's a volunteer? And you want to run for city council. You want to run for city council, and you can't even justify one person to have something to say. So you're not a good candidate. You're a poor candidate. In fact, that's the sad part, is that we just never know who the candidate's going to be. I used to work for the city of Bunnell, and I had a city manager down there by the name of Mr. Martinez. I was the solid waste director. I founded their department for them way back in 2009. And we were talking about commissioners that were working to get elected. And he said to me something very profound, and I still to this day think about that. We never could pick our bosses when it comes to that. So city manager, directors, we can pick who's going to be that boss. And, you're going to run for office, and you can't even comprehend someone sitting on that board who is going to be a part of a 5-member board, and the people make a decision, and you can't justify that, so you want to attack people. Very bad job. We are at the very least struggling. I don't care what party you belong to, but in Palm Coast, we struggle to find candidates that can actually wrap their head around the reasons why they're running for candidacy
Yeah,
for those seats.
I agree, and it's not a political party challenge. It's almost a lack of understanding of what the roles needed, who's running and why, and then are they willing to step up and become a target for people that appear to have nothing to do but just sling mud honestly and half of the information. And I'm not one that supports that or participates in that, because volunteering to do things, and you are phenomenal, and we're going to touch a little bit on your mosquito, because everybody's asking me, what is a mosquito control board? But you're right. Sadly, people get argumentative, get defensive, get opinionated, get into these little silos of views, and fail to understand we're all trying to do the right thing for all of us locally. And I'm all about local because, as we've seen, and you've participated in it, we do have, as citizens in Palm Coast, a voice if you choose to use it, to talk to city council, to talk to county commissioners, to be heard. And there's been a lot of evidence recently that they've heard us and they've made changes and moved forward based on citizen participation, which I think is something that needs to be applauded and has nothing to do with parties, but what's best.
Well, let me say this. So it's the same 10 people. The same 10 people. I call it the STPs because the same 10 people get up and they say the same thing over and over again. We'll talk about the water. We're talking about airplanes. We're talking about the airport. We're talking about, it's chaos. It's just like, the roads. I understand all that. But you're just talking over yourself. Like, I have yet to have any of these people, and some of these people are running for office right now, both county and city and everything. None of them ever said, I got a solution for the water. I have a reason why you should do the roads in such a way. Okay? I have the concept of why, when I sit on this board, what I'm going to do to balance the budget here. The problem with a lot of these people is they're in a fantasy. And those folks that are sitting there saying that they're going to get up there and change everything is not the way it's going to get done. You cannot change anything. You and your 5-member board need to change it. And you need to sell and pitch what we want.
Right.
I don't want to hear what you want. I want you to hear what we want. And that's the problem.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And I've actually had individual conversations because I'm probably one of those people. I go to the city council and I participate and I try to applaud them when they do good things and they move forward, and I bring opportunities for improvement. But what I find is frustrating even at their level. Like, for example, talking to a city council member about the problems with the Flagler airport has zero validation because nobody within the city or even the county basically has any say in how the airport is. Or when they're this thing that's going on so much about this problem with developers like the westward expansion and all these things, great talking points. But the city of Palm Coast has very little say in how a large development group is going to come down and get done because it's up in Tallahassee. It's coming out of the state thing. But yet you're right. They come up and they complain, they talk, and they vent because they're upset. They have issues, but they're talking to somebody, a group of people that are powerless to make any of these changes.
Well, they're just saying whatever they want. They just sit there and say whatever you want. The sky's blue. No, it's not. It's red. They just say what they want. Look, right. You have an entitlement to get up to speak at the podium. You absolutely should. But there isn't any reason why you get up there and just bash each and every one of those city council people. These are people that stepped up, that ran for office, spent money, their own money. They did their job. They got there, whether they got their party behind them, whether they got people behind them, they got their volunteers. These are people that are trying to do better for their community. There's two types of people. There's the one person that is really there and trying to do much for the community, and I could name them on that board instantly: Ty Miller, Teresa Pontieri, Charlie Gambaro, Dave Sullivan. And the mayor also, as much as like I know he is focused on one thing in particular, but at the end of the day, everybody wanted to do something to do a better job. What also people find is when they're running for office, they feel like they can make the change. Okay, and that's why those folks that are trying to run for office that have these single, what would we call it? Single issue. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Single issue campaigns. I don't know. That's not really campaigning.
Right.
If you want to win a campaign, there's like 7 good ways to try to win a campaign.
Do you think that what we're experiencing, and I'm fully aware and know exactly what you're talking about, is that it's become a campaign of negativeness? I don't want to say hate because that's too strong of a word, but complaining instead of offering ideas to make things better.
No, let's go back. Let's call it what it is. It's hate. It's plain simple. It's hate. They just
Okay.
hate you. You're sitting in that seat of authority. They instantly hate you. They don't have any reasoning when it comes to understanding what it is that job is about. Okay, they're there to make policy. They're there to listen to us. They're there to balance that budget. They're there to make choices of what we're supposed to do. Our job as citizens and residents of the area is to get up and speak and say, hey, our water bill is too high. What are you going to do about it? No, I haven't heard anybody ask them point blank, what are they going to do about it?
Right.
Everybody just gets up and says the water bill's too high and it's just getting out of hand. What are you going to do about it? Is there anything you could do to fix the water bill? And there might be. I don't know. I've had to run the Bunnell utilities for a short period of time while they found a new director, and I learned a lot about it. But I will tell you, it's expensive. Mm-hmm. It's a high energy operation, and it's super critical for people to make sure that water comes out pristine and healthy.
Right.
So
So you just were sharing that you've been a resident of Palm Coast and Flagler County, and you've been involved in some level. Has that hate always been there, or is this a fairly new thing?
Well, I think it's come along in many years, I would say, and it has just progressively gotten worse. One thing about people is that they use the hate platform regularly. I'm going to give an example, like Facebook, Facebook Nextdoor, Substack. I can go on, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. I've watched high-level politicians put out information on their Substack page, and then all of a sudden just get attacked by people. All right, probably cross-party issue, people attacking them, and some people within a party also attacking them. Not to say that it's not true, but what I'm saying is that why have these platforms when you're trying to get the word out? Okay, my personal opinion is the city should just turn the comments off. Facebook should be about important things like road closure. Events, things that are happening within the city that affect your meetings. Mm-hmm. That's what the Facebook page should be about.
Well, their new city app is doing a phenomenal job of improving that, which is a recent, and I highly recommend everybody that cares download the Palm Coast app, because it is crystal clear when road, like we just had the water restrictions because of the drought we were having, and when to water, that stuff is there. So they're trying to do that. But this bitterness, this acceptance of sharing your views, it feels like to me is fairly new in like the last 10, 12 years that everybody now feel like they've been given permission to walk in front of the city council and stand there for 3 minutes and just blabber out issues they have, half of which may or not even exist, but they want to get it off their chest.
Look, if you want to get it off your chest, that's fine. But there's no reason to just attack,
Yes.
a person.
I agree.
I complimented in front of my house. They were doing the swales, and I was getting in my car to leave to go to work, and the swale crew was doing a survey stick, and I said, so what you guys doing? He goes, well, we're going to be grading, and I pointed out that the 2 empty lots next to my house that go into the ditch. There's a high spot, and the water builds up there, and I usually go down there with a shovel and dig about 6 feet, 8 feet of a trough, and it gets filled back in. And they said, no, we're going to take care of that. I says, thank you. So I leave. I come back home. I see how nice of a job they did. I take pictures. I post it on the city's Facebook page, and what do you think happens? I got attacked because I'm the chairman of the Republican Party, because I'm a business owner in the area. I'm an auctioneer or something. Well, I am. I'm a licensed auctioneer. I don't know what that had to do with anything. And that my property got taken care of because I was on the charter review. All I said was, thank you for the crew, the physical people that did the job, those workmen and women that were doing the job. Thank you. You did a really great job. It's a professional, beautiful, graded thing.
Right, and that's unnecessary.
No.
And I think that's sad. And I work every day, and you guys know that in this podcast, we are always trying to find the reasons to do what you just did. You got to thank our citizens. You got to thank and be aware of the challenges of the people around us, because that's not helpful for what you're trying to do.
But wait, let's get better at it. Okay, so I get attacked. So on Facebook, it's on my own personal page now. So I attack back, and I outright call everybody out. And what do you think I get? I'm attacking a handicapped woman. Oh, well, you're handicapped, still can type, so what do you mean handicapped? Well, I'm attacking an elderly lady or an elderly man or this. No, I'm not. I'm defending myself. Don't start accusing me of a favor when all I did was compliment a hardworking staff that's out there doing the job. People just are solely disrespected, and they think they can get away with it. Well, I'm not going to let you get away with it. If you don't like it,
Right.
then we'll just have it out as we discussed.
I preach literally to people that listen that when these issues occur, when you have an issue, and it's terrible that you're going through that, and many people that take the effort to be visible like you have. And I try to use the term, was taught to me recently by a really smart man, when in a conversation, engage, but not enrage. And part of that is how how you respond. And there are times when someone, you and I both have had tents at First Friday. We have a plethora of people, ding, 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 plethora of people with all types of views. And they come up and they talk and whatever. What do? We walk back and forth to each other and we have conversations. I remember helping each of us put up tents during the last election and put up signs, because politics isn't warfare. Politics and voting and all those efforts is a group that all of us deserve. And so do you feel like you're being attacked by your own like-minded thinking people? Because some of the ones I know are also registered Republicans that are very active in opinions. And I'll be honest, when I run into a very, very loud Democrat, I pull them aside and talk to them and try to preach the engage, not enrage, because no one listens to you when you start yelling back. So the same problem occurs, but you're in a much more visible by choice, by the way.
Yeah.
So
I'm not afraid of that.
I know.
I've been called a rhino. Okay. I don't even know what a rhino. I don't have to tell you. There's such an excuse of what that is. But I have to tell you, I've been a Republican proudly since I was 18 years old, first opportunity to vote, and prior to that, okay? And I stayed true to my party. I believe in our mantra, and I believe in that Monica and the way it reads out, okay? I don't necessarily disagree with every party or independents out there and PAs, and then in Florida we have, I think, 21 parties registered in the state. Okay, so I don't know all their views, but I know my view and I know what I like to live by, and so I focus on that. I cannot help people when they want to use, oh, those people are rhinos. I don't know if they are. I don't know what they are. I don't even know what you're trying to convey is the point. Are you saying that because at one time someone was a Democrat and they came back into the Republican Party that they are rhinos? Well, people switch parties, and we're welcome for people to come into the party, but we do ask you to be conservative. We do ask. I'm a Reagan conservative. What is a Reagan conservative? Okay, well, we go back to the Tea Party. That is a small government, less tax-based organization. We're conservative in that value. If there's a religious side of the conservatism, that's fine. But I'm talking about, like, I pay taxes, and I don't want my taxes being spent on things that don't enhance our lifestyle.
Which I think is something we all want. That's not a political statement. That is a concern that taxpayers want to have, is how it's spent. Now, how it's spent or where it's spent is another. And I love when our mayor was giving us a civics class. A lot of people never caught this. Was he says, "Look, this is a republic. You voted for me. I was elected fair and square. I'm sitting here, and so all 5 of them, also elected, were sitting there, given the empowerment, given the confidence to go forth and do what they think is right."
Yeah, and you all fight it out on that board.
Well,
'Cause that's
exactly,
your
and
job.
they do.
That's your job.
Absolutely.
Right? Not our job. That's your job. And
Right.
you know what annoys me more than anything is when people expect that they're going to stay on that board and they're going to just exhume everything that they can out there for what it is that they said they were going to do when they were running for office. Well, look, I've listened to people make promises in every party. I've listened to people get elected and then they realize that they cannot do anything. You know why? You're 1 vote of 5.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, you cannot change it, and
Right.
and that leads me on to, if you want to talk about the mosquito board.
I want to hear
Yeah.
about that. Big questions. Nobody knows
So
what that is.
Well, let me tell you how I got involved in the mosquito board. I am a commissioner for the East Flagler Mosquito Control District. It is a nonpartisan seat. I was listening to the news, WNZF radio, in 2017, I think it was, 2016, 2017, and they talked about the Mosquito Control Board. Again, like most people, I don't even know what that was. And how they mismanaged money. They didn't do anything wrong. There was no wrongdoing back then. But they just didn't follow procedure. And there were 3 board members. Jules Katatowski, who was passed away, he was the oldest, longest commissioner in the mosquito board. He was very well liked. He was a nice man. He was. He was in his 80s at the time. He passed away in his 90s. When he passed away, the seat opened up. I applied for it, and I was appointed by the agricultural commissioner, Wilton Simpson. However, I ran for the seat twice. I ran against him. I lost twice. Okay, he's well known. Everybody knows him, right? So I did. But the reason why I ran was because the mismanagement irked me. It irked me to the point where, why did we not know about this? And why is it suddenly something big? Well, there were changes there. The person that was running it, the director, he's gone. The bookkeeper, accountant, whoever she was, gone. All of the staff changed up, and they got a new director, Mark Positano, unbelievable guy, super smart, scientist in my opinion, and really knows his stuff, and loves the business. Loves the business. The employees that are in there, they love the business. They love going to work. You could see it. The equipment that they have now is probably some of the most state-of-the-art equipment. And then well, let me get back to the commissioners. So we had Jules, we had Barbara Segoy. Jules was a Democrat, Barbara was a Republican, and then there was a Dr. Fruhan. Well, Dr. Fruhan was removed because he lost his medical license due to some. You could go look it up yourself. But at the end of the day, they were running with two commissioners. Both commissioners are octogenarians, people in their 80s. I'm sorry, I'm not 80, and I know that as I get older, and we all get older, it's more difficult. But if one of those two got sick, they couldn't have a meeting to control and operate the business,
Yeah.
and they never asked to get the seat replaced, which to me was by design, and that irked me. So I jumped in and.
So hold on, to let people, what is the annual budget for the Mosquito Control Board? To give people an idea of how much of your tax money's going
It's
to
a little over
support.
$5 million.
$5 million.
Right.
Okay.
And you pay,
It's,
oh gosh, I think
it's
50,
almost nothing on our
36, 50,
tax,
gosh, you have to excuse me.
the millage rate.
Yeah, the millage rate is very small
Very.
for the year, and they've been holding the line. They haven't increased it. This is the first. Last year, I think, was the first year that they actually somewhat increased it because they had a plan for a longer term, but it's so small you don't notice the difference. And the other thing that's important is that we were using equipment that was over 20 years old. The helicopter was 20 years old, well maintained, very expensive to maintain. So they finally bought a new helicopter. It's a $4 million investment. They budgeted, saved the money, borrowed against it, very low rate. So they got a brand new machine, larger capacity, 3-wing prop. Can really do a mission longer and carry more payload when it works. Plus, it's sort of like going from a regular car to a supercar, like Corvette. Like you went into this car,
Sure.
this operational vehicle that is totally safer, more manageable, and newer equipment. So that was important because this is a life-risking piece of equipment. This isn't you're driving a car, which is dangerous on its own, right? Or a truck or a pickup truck. This is a helicopter, and you're doing missions within 150 feet of the ground.
And I guess the mission is to spray or take steps to control the mosquitoes. And I wanted to elaborate because right now, we're hearing all this stuff about the hantavirus, which is transported or spread by animals, creatures. And a lot of people don't remember what it was like in Florida before mosquito control. I was just having a conversation with my vet about heartworm by mosquitoes and how aggressive and how tough it is. And thank goodness that we have proactive actions going on to control, reduce the mosquitoes because they are carriers of some pretty bad things that haven't gone away. They're still there, and these efforts for $5 million to control and reduce these mosquito-borne viruses and things, people don't even get it.
So originally, I believe, if I remember right, it started in the early 50s, mosquito control, South Florida specifically. And then there is 17 or 18 mosquito control districts. Some of them cover additional areas, but most of the time they're within a concentrated area because they work on ad valorem. If you look at the west end of the county, there's not enough business in the west end of the county for them to get the same services that we get on this end of the county where we have massive numbers of homes. We do service the west end of the county under a contract with the interlocal agreement with the county. So as they need services, we will take care of it. A lot of times we monitor, we surveil, and test and sample, so we know how this works. So it's not like you call up and say, hey, I got mosquitoes, come and spray. We don't, it doesn't work that way. We take the tip. If it's within an area where we already have traps, we have traps all over the county.
Mosquito traps.
Mosquito traps. They look like little, I guess like little lanterns. And they have a tank with CO2 in it, and that attracts the mosquitoes. And once they go in there, they die, and we take those back, and they literally count how many mosquitoes are in there and what type of mosquito it is. Because some mosquitoes really carry bad things, and some are they're just annoying. Female mosquitoes are the ones that bite, not the male mosquitoes. But they lay a lot of eggs, and they can multiply really quick. And it's kind of scary looking when you see, I've watched a jar with the larvae in it with a cap on it, and the jar just looks like bubbling, like Alka-Seltzer of mosquito larvae growing. That's how fast they could grow, and within no time they're flying.
Right.
So, and those diseases, as you said, some diseases are really bad, malaria and so on and so forth. We have not had a bad outbreak of anything here. We're very well controlled and managed, and if there's any outbreak, it's generally in the southern part, west southern part of the state, where they have less mosquito control as we should.
Well, I think that it is an underrated, extremely important offering, and it's well worth the money we spend because the alternative is huge. And I know that it's really important, and if you go to their website and you research it as homeowners, there's a huge responsibility of knowing where water's collecting. Do you have pots in your yard that are sitting there
Right.
that can generate that, and being able to be informed and understand how we all play a part.
So,
And
I think it's flaglermosquito.gov, and what's critical that you know is that there's the most annoying mosquito is the one where people call us up and say, I got a lot of mosquitoes at my house. And we'll send a technician out there to look it over. And as they go through, they'll show you that you have your kid's bucket sitting there with water in it. Mosquitoes can, if you look at this bottle cap and I invert it, they could lay enough eggs in that bottle cap to just walk us out of this room. That's how much can come out of that little bottle cap, that it can hold that much water. 1/4 inch water, they're going to lay eggs. So the key is don't have any buckets around your house. There's a flower called, oh gosh, I can never pronounce it, a bougainvillea. I'm sorry, it's one of the hardest ones for me to pronounce. But it's a flower that has cups, and it was very common. Most people have it around here. Palm Coast banned it. You can't put it in as part of your as part of your house. You could put it in, but you can't when you're building a new house. It cannot be part of the new house permit. This holds water. Those mosquitoes that live in there will live within 50 yards of that. So when you walk out your door and all of a sudden you're attacked by mosquitoes, you have something out there that's doing that.
yeah,
And they don't go anywhere. They don't fly, they just stay within 150 feet of that home. That's where they live, that's where they stay. So you want to get rid of those. That's really critical. Anything that has a bucket in it. Obviously, if you have a fountain out front, you want to put chlorine in it. Anything like that, you want to make sure it flows and water runs. Or buy the dunks, the DONKS at like Home Depot or Lowe's, and you throw them in your fountain, and they will keep larvae from. Dump your waste containers, that type of stuff.
yeah. It's I'm so glad we had an opportunity to touch on that because people don't understand all of the effort that Florida requires to live here. This is, Florida, like you said, you talked about if study Go and look and see how many people lived here in the 50s. And then they developed air conditioning, which then made it a lot better, and people came to move here. And I really want to thank you for being involved in that thankless job of protecting us from mosquitoes and outbreaks and things like that. And I think we're getting off cheap at $5 million compared to other things. You know, another thing that's been talked about a lot, and I know I saw you at the presentation. What are your thoughts on that western expansion personally?
Well, I mean, I think that what city council should do is just make sure that the builders, and again, there's going to be the naysayers that are going to say that the builders own the city council. And I have to tell you, it's such a conspiracy. It's common for city council or people running for office to take donations from different organizations. And if it happens to be builders, or it happens to be some type of contractors, or or landowners, they're the ones that donate. And if you're running for office, you got to get money. I mean, so you could take it if you want, if you feel that you can have the dividing line between the money they give you and making a decision that may not be popular for them. You take their money. I always say take the money, because at the end of the day, you're making a decision based on facts. And if you're following the facts and not emotion, you should make a good decision. And no matter who gives you the money, it doesn't matter. However, because that helps you win your election, right? You need money to win elections. So as far as the western expansion, as long as there's already ordinances, building, planning, platting in place, the flume, the whole whatever, all of that stuff is there. They getting ready to build. It's an unplatted piece of property. They need to bring in a very comprehensive plan of everything, and that needs to get presented, whether it's in steps or in, it's uncharted territory for me. I know nothing about it. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, if I was on city council, because I know nothing about it, and you're the developer and you're showing me this beautiful blank slate, you're going to be telling me where we're going to get the water from, who's going to pay for that, how is the infrastructure going to go in, what is it that you're going to do, what is it you're going to do? Like, if I'm sitting on city council, I got to ask those questions. I can't make a decision if I was on city council to build out something that we don't even know whether or not we can actually physically do it, just because.
Yeah, but it feels like the direction of state government is moving away from empowering or even paying attention to counties and city elected officials. And there is, if it wasn't already approved, guidelines with large developments, those over, I think, 20,000 acres, 18,000. They don't even need city or county approval. They're just being polite to let us know what they're building out in the backyard, without understanding. And I know that you and I have talked at length about the infrastructure, which you are pretty knowledgeable in, coming out of Bunnell, and the water and sewer and those kind of things, which are going to be necessary. And the city has struggled with struggle's not the right word, but the timing of growth and the support of roads and schools and water and electricity and those things in partnership can become pretty scary to a resident who's sitting here now, who is seeing their water go up, or their traffic, that we don't have traffic, but they complain about it all the time, and then all of a sudden get told they're going to build another 20,000 homes out there. So the transparency and the conversation is critical in understanding the residents. But will the residents even have a voice in this?
Well, just a quick comment. You don't know what traffic is until you're stuck on the BQE and the Cross Bronx Expressway, okay? So, and the FDR Drive in New York City. So that's when that's traffic, okay? Jacksonville, Orlando.
You're talking to most of the people here in Palm Coast.
All right, so you're in traffic for 20 minutes, 15 minutes. But let me say this. One thing I think that a lot of us don't understand, and even myself, I don't really understand, because I haven't This is new. This new developing thing that's going on. Yes, the state legislature realizes that if you have a 20,000 acre plat that's going to happen, that it leaves the builders. There was a double-edged sword in that. It leaves the builders the ability to do it, but it doesn't say that the city has to do more than they're supposed to do. So in reality, it doesn't mean that the city's supposed to be responsible for the water, but it doesn't mean they have to supply the water.
Right.
There's a lot more to that. It's just that if they own 20,000 acres and they want to decide to build another Disneyland over there and they want to manage their own issue, they also have to manage a lot of the other things. And our city council has to make sure that they manage that. Like, this is all we're allowed to do. If you're going to build your 20,000 acre thing over there, whatever it is you're going to do, you need to tell us where you're going to get your water, how you're going to put your roads in, and all of that. And we'll permit it as we go along. And that's what the process is. Nobody says that we have to pay for it. Nobody says that. It doesn't say that. It just says they're allowed to do it. We don't necessarily have to do it.
But what if the city put it up for a vote, hypothetically,
Yeah.
and the citizens of Flagler County said, no, they don't want it?
Well, I'm going to go back to Bunnell. In the early days, in the mid 2005, 6, 7, I was involved with a solid waste company that had the contracts for the city and the county, and I talked to the city manager at the time down in Bunnell, and they were doing all of these annexations. Down there, it was a big frenzy. It was out of control frenzy. They were connecting properties that would zigzag through the old western end of the county, and the city of Bunnell grew to become the second largest city in the state land-wise. Right? Bigger than Jacksonville, believe it or not, almost at one point. And the problem with that is that there was no direction that they gave. You can annex in and all of that. But the one thing I did learn real quick from a gentleman by the name of Commissioner Elbert Tucker. Tucker is an old name that's been in this county over 100 years. And Elbert said, you can't tell me what to do with my property. And he was the commissioner there for, God knows, a long time. And that's the problem. If that person owns 22,000 acres, the city has no right to tell them what to do with it. You built your house on this property. You built it within the regulations of building the house on this property at the time that you built your home. You have to live with those rules. You have an unplatted piece of property out in the west end of the county. Unless there's a rule out there that says you can't do something, you're entitled to do what you're entitled to do. And that's one thing about our Constitution, which is what it says, right? We're entitled to own property and go with the future of what we want to do. We cannot be bound by all the rules. But when they write the rule, it says you could do a 20,000 acre plat.
I'm sure, and I don't disagree with the concept you're describing, but I'm sure there's residents here in Palm Coast that don't think the city, in its efforts of ordinances, have mandated and told many of us what we can and can't do with our property. So, yes, I agree, but there's caveats to a lot of things and restrictions based on the betterment of the larger society. We went through the chicken argument recently.
Yeah.
We've talked about colors of houses. Now we're talking about, we've talked about parking vehicles in driveways. Those are all examples of good dialogue and conversations that occurred in which we were looking at the pros and cons of the embetterment of the larger needs, but also the understanding and the responsibility of individuals.
So let's go back.
So it's not as cut dry as
it sounds,
as
right?
it sounds.
Well, wait a second. Let me throw a curveball. Let me throw a rock through the window.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And the windows are going to break because here's what happens. We got people that have come up to the podium and complain all day long, both here in the county, about the airport. I'm just wondering, you bought your house. Did your realtor tell you that there was an airport? And that you might be under the glide path? Did you think that maybe you won't like it after a while? Why would you buy that house? And why would you live there? And why now are you suddenly going to complain about it? I have a hard time saying I agree. So you have options. Remember, you bought this property. The ordinances are in place. The rules are already here. You build your house according to the rules. Those are rules you live with. Now you decide you want to put a junkyard behind your home. Well, that wasn't what you signed up to get a permit for. That wasn't what you agreed on when you bought your property. You own your property. It doesn't mean you have a right to do everything on your property. If the ordinances are already in place and you agreed at that point in time, that's what you have to live with. We can't change those things.
Right.
Now, sometimes they manufacture and sometimes they correct rules. Like, for example, the putting a commercial vehicle of under X amount of size in the driveway. People have been doing it anyway, just that not everybody gets caught. So it's not the end of the world. But some people complain, they don't like it, they don't live with it. Well, okay, they changed the rule. If you lived in a subdivision, a gated subdivision, you wouldn't have that problem. Some people choose not to. We didn't want to live in a gated subdivision, so I may have to live with the guy that's running a junkyard in his garage, the guy that's running a mechanic shop in his garage, the guy that parks his work van at lunchtime at his house.
Right.
I may have no choice.
I'm just referring to the general concept of property rights, which I think are crucially important, and the rights of a community, and the dialogue and the participation at your county, your city, to talk about those things. And they're the ones that make those ordinances and describe that. There's no right or wrong answer with this. It's all about the dialogue. And I think we both feel that that dialogue has been suffering a lot lately, and that people have so quickly chosen sides and become argumentative half the time without even the right facts, and become hate. And it's so disappointing to me how individuals like yourself, and I know others, that are being attacked or comment negatively or being unnecessarily pulled into the mud, if you will. And it's a sad, and I hope that we can get past that and move on to where we understand, as I was saying at the beginning, and I love making this statement. You may argue about all the little nuances of things in your life and the airport and all of this stuff and the quality of your water, but we all live here. We all get up and work, raise our children or grandchildren, pay our taxes. It's all of us, and we need to get on the right page, and we need to learn how to talk and find problem solving and work on situations like that. And that's not a political thing. That's a necessity that we need to do a much better job of appreciating those people that volunteer like you do and others to go in and say, you just spent 6 months working on the charter review extensively for free, out of your own time.
Yeah.
And how many, I go to city council meetings. There's 5 people in there out of 110,000 residents.
Mayor Netz got elected in 2000. I'm gonna say it was 2008 or 10. It's in early years, with 5% of the voting population of Palm Coast that came out to vote. 5%
Yeah,
of at the time was like 80,000 people.
I know.
All right, 5% came out to vote. So where is there the lackluster attitude? You want to come out and complain. You want to talk about and fight and argue with you don't like what the mayor said. You don't like what the city council said, and you're going to get up there and you're just going to poke holes and you're going to talk nasty. I watched on YouTube Coral Gables, I think it is Coral Springs, one of the two, and the people get up there and literally curse at them. Give them the finger. I mean, it is so, and I say to myself, like, where is this, not even just civility, just like,
Yeah.
what were you taught in life? But, there's no reason that you can't make your point. If you cannot make your point by talking about it, then I'm not quite sure why we'd want to listen to you.
Well, I experienced something recently where I interviewed a young person who goes to middle school here in Palm Coast. And she was saying and sharing that exact mirrored effect of conversations are happening in our middle school. 14-year-old children in middle school were having almost the same type of arguments, which clearly they're getting from exposure to their parents or things on TV or whatever, and had no idea truly of what they were arguing about, and yet they're sitting there in our schools having the same kind of dialogue and argument that we see in city council. And that broke my heart. That destroyed me in thinking, you and I, Perry, we reach out and we talk and we can say that we respect each other and we understand where we're coming from and we're all working to make it better. But how do you tell a 14-year-old that adults don't have to behave the way you are pointing out?
Well, I think I may have a small answer to that, and it's a long shot, but I'm going to throw it out there. Okay, history. Our founders, when they wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, when they sat there and wrote that, those men were the people that were murdered.
Oh, a lot of them were, yeah.
They went bankrupt. Their properties were taken from them. Their families were ripped apart. And they wrote the Constitution for our freedom. These younger children don't know about those facts. They don't know that when they hear of Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and Hamilton and all these famous people, they don't realize that the others, the congressmen, the senators of the day, were persecuted. They were attacked. They were murdered. And because they couldn't have conversations beyond that document until as time goes on. And we still had a lot of things going on in this country at the time. There was slavery. There was
war going on.
Right, and we had tariffs that were working against us. There were so many other things, and people were living dirt poor poverty, but yet they still wanted to do it. So their conversations as young children growing up have to be, what is it that you're going to do to make it better? And my contribution is, I got on a couple of boards. I help out in some charities here and there. I'm not wealthy, but I buy a sponsorship. I donate $25 to the Matanzas High School football team. I mean, big deal, right? But I put the effort because that's my contribution. I can't talk to the President of the United States. I don't know when I will or might ever happen. But if I did, what would I say to that guy? And what would I say to my congressman when I do have a conversation with him that can help him in his job? And what can I say to my senators to make them get their job better? But what I look at is people attacking them for being in that position. And the same with our city council, our county commissioners, even smaller boards throughout. We have the other districts. We have the Bridge District. There's a few other small special districts in here. That those are managed by the state. Even though we're in the county, we answer to the agricultural. So, again, we get attacked for no reason. There's no reason to get attacked.
Well, and I know for a fact that you have been instrumental in, like myself and others, trying to turn the heat down a little bit, trying to get people to realize their behavior, like in my example of here's 14-year-old kids that are marrying their parents who are not behaving as adults. How do you turn the heat down? How do you get citizens to take a breath? Because I'm looking for those answers all the time, and I try to have that conversation. And I gladly, as you know, reach across, and I hate the labels and the owl and all of that. We're all citizens, and we're all going to survive this one way or the other. And you know that we try to do that, but some people don't even want to turn the heat down.
Well, I think that they live for that, and I don't think that there's ever going to be control over it. I just tell them the truth, like the water that you're drinking is safe. It's within the world of not making us sick if you drink it and you don't run into the bathroom. It's probably good. The color of the water in your bathtub depends upon which well that they're pulling it from.
Sure.
There's a lot of organics, so if it's green or kind of yellowish hue, it's because there's organics in there. Those organics can be filtered if you have a filter at your house, and you can get it down to a better quality of color, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get sick from it. I feel pretty confident that I can drink the water and not worry about it. So what's the truth? Why are you going to get up there and tell people that how bad the drinking water is? When the only thing bad about the water is that you have to have a filter if you don't want to ruin your appliances. I mean that's just the way it is. But that's here. But if you go to other places in the country, they have problems with their water as well from the minerals. There's a lot of minerals, but I'm just saying. So what is the truth? The answer is the truth. Tell me why the airport should be shut down. Right. Tell me.
But I'm not talking about those kind of things. I have this experiment I do every once in a while. I have a brilliant red hat, color of your shirt, but on the front of it says America is great.
Yeah.
And I will wear that hat and walk around Walmart, and I will have people respond to the hat, not even knowing who I am, and some will pat me on the back and go, "How dare you wear that hat?" I have others come up and say, "All right, I'm glad you're wearing that hat," and they turn around and they read the words and they're stumped. And I look at them and say, "How are you feeling? What is it that you're feeling? How can a red hat, in this case, generate this type of reaction?" Because that's what we need to learn to understand. It's just a red hat.
Well, Trump made that red hat very famous, and no matter what the words say on it, at the end of the day, but how do you get people to respond in a more positive way? It's just listening. People have to talk. I mean, if you want to get up there and just shout and yell and scream and complain, I don't know. I guess at a certain point you don't listen. You just turn it off, right? But if you get up there and you got solutions, like ways to save money. One of the suggestions that I have made to City Council and on occasion people that work within there. Talk about it. It's microsurfacing the roadways.
Yeah.
It's not made for everything, but Benelli, we didn't have any money back in those days when I did the microsurfacing there. We had roads that were falling apart. A lot of these roads were already 40, 50 years old and not passable, and we couldn't pave. Paving at the time, I'm just telling you a number, 600 feet of a mill and pave cost $250,000.
Yeah, it's way more now.
You know how much money I had in the budget when they handed me the Public Works Department? I said, "How much money do I have for paving?" I'm thinking they probably got $1 million set aside. They had $125,000. And then the mayor at the time, Mayor Robinson, said to the city manager, "I'm getting a lot of complaints about paving." So the city manager runs in my office and says, "You got to help me with paving." I'm like, "Dude, I am your solid waste director. You just gave me a budget because the city engineer who was the public works director, you fired him. I don't know anything about it, but I think I got an idea. And we talked through it. We paved miles and miles of road for less than $125,000.
And they're practicing that now. Here in
And,
Palm Coast.
and the process was so effective. Okay, it's not for every road. I mean, but for certainly subdivisions and back roads where the paving is still good. That's a great item. It's a thin surfacing of material. It's not paved. It's kind of like if you know Zamboni does on the ice. It scrapes the ice and then lays the water down. This is similar. It lays a layer of about 5/8 thick of a very dense asphalt based item, and it just goes down nice and smooth. You don't roll it or anything, and it hardens and sticks right to the surface, keeps the road together. Benel couldn't afford that. Benel couldn't do it. Now on top of that, Flagler Beach adopted it and paved almost every street in Flagler Beach. Now, is it a Band-Aid? It could be. If roads are really bad, yes. But here in Palm Coast, that's millions and millions of dollars that they could save some road, do some major work elsewhere, and then go back later on, maybe in 7 years, when that paving technically is supposed to kind of be enough. But roads down in Benel have been there since 2016, and they look just as good as ever. So, and they're using the process again. So that was a concept, right? I brought it up. They did it. Pontieri pushed it, and they've been doing it and saved them millions of dollars and got more roads done. And people are happy when they see paving done in front of their house. All I'm saying is that it's solutions. I had a solution. I was a resident with a solution, and I got heard.
And that is the takeaway that we're missing. So Perry, thank you so much. Any final thoughts? We could talk all day. You and I have so many things that we'd love to see happen, from behavior to improvements and participating. And I do want to, again, acknowledge all of the volunteer work and things that you're involved with, and it's very much appreciated. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up that you want to share?
Well, just a misconception that, you're a Democrat, as we know, and I'm a Republican. And of course, this show is not about that. It's about ideas and cooperation. And I don't think that people in my position, where I am the chairman of the party here in the county, like to be exposed to someone else in charge of something. And you're in charge of this. So anything that we did here was going to be pretty much straight out what it is. Like, you didn't coerce me into something. You didn't trick me. We had real conversation about things that are happening in the county. And I call it out. I'm not afraid to tell people that they're lying and they're not telling the truth and they're not acting. And that was a great platform that we did here. I don't have a problem coming back and doing another event with you. I think that between now and the midterms, people have to understand that we're going to fight. I am going to fight for my side of the room and make sure that I could try to seat as many as I can. But at the end of the day, I want to seat the right people. I'm hoping that the people that are stepping forward are really going to do the job that we expect them to. And whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or NPA, Independent, whatever the other 21 parties are, if you have a single agenda, you're going to be a failed candidate. You need to be strong. Get up there to speak for the people and listen to shows like this that actually talk about what might change things.
Well, I appreciate that. And it is true, Palm Coast is made up of a lot of citizens, and all of our issues are nonpartisan.
Yeah.
Our city council, our school board is nonpartisan. Take away that and ask the questions, what is needed to serve the citizens? And that's what's important, and I know you and I talk about that. And Perry, I just want to thank you for coming in. You're always welcome to join. I love the fact that, as someone was sharing earlier, We are so fortunate to live in a very aggressive political. Flagler County has signs everywhere. We're talking make sure you register to vote, that you get your mail-in ballots if you need to participate. Because we don't want to have a 5% turnout and get someone elected that doesn't speak for the majority. And that's also nonpartisan. We want everybody to get out and participate to vote. So thanks again. I really appreciate it. You're always welcome back. And guys, it's important to understand, like Perry and I, the issues we have in Palm Coast and in Flagler County are everyone's issues. Whether it's mosquito control, whether it's the budget or west expansion, all of it. It's your city. You have a voice. Get out and participate. And remember, leave the hate at home. Leave your anger at home. It does not get you anywhere, and you'll never be heard. So with that, guys, I want you to stay safe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.